Imagine waking up to the news that mysterious lights have appeared across the skies of the world. Would you rush outside to see them? Or remain hidden indoors, afraid of what they could mean? At first, many assume they're meteors, or maybe satellites burning up in the atmosphere. But the lights don't fall. They slow down, they stop, they hover. They arrange themselves in patterns no known natural phenomenon could form. In New York, traffic freezes as drivers abandon their cars just to record the sight. In Tokyo, rooftops fill with crowds, silent and staring upward. In Lagos, power fails, plunging entire neighborhoods into darkness, but the glow overhead shines on for all to see. Across every continent, billions of eyes turn skyward, witnessing something no generation before them has ever seen. News anchors stumble on live feeds. Some call it a strange anomaly. Others quietly dare to say the one word no one wants to voice: alien. Hashtags spark into global trends. Live streams erupt with floods of new viewers, and shaky videos reveal massive, silent shapes moving against the stars. Governments are alerted almost as fast as the public. Military radar confirms these are no falling pieces of debris, they are craft. Astronomers release statements, baffled, no human technology we know of explains these formations. In capital cities worldwide, emergency meetings are held behind closed doors, yet no formal announcements come. Panic blooms before any orders are even issued. Supermarket shelves are stripped bare in hours. Rice, bread, bottled water, all gone. Just like those early days of the global pandemic, even toilet paper becomes something worth fighting for. Families pack cars with whatever they can grab, unsure where to go. Others hurry to churches or mosques, convinced the end has arrived. The lights don't attack. Not yet. But their stillness is louder than the loudest bomb. In a single night, humanity must face a truth it's avoided for centuries. We are no longer alone. And now, the waiting for what comes next could be the most dangerous moment of all. Chapter 1. The Arrival. What would you do if, without warning, the skies above your home filled with lights that weren't supposed to be there? Would you step outside and start filming, or lock your doors tight and wait it out? Would you call everyone you love, or sit in silence, hoping it was all just some kind of mistake? That same choice confronted billions of people on the first night the orbs arrived. At first, they looked like ordinary meteors, streaks of glowing light racing through the stratosphere. For a moment, the world cheered, certain they were seeing the brightest meteor shower in a century. But the cheering faded fast. The lights began to slow. They stopped falling. Instead, they hovered, spreading across the sky in deliberate arcs and lines. Across cities worldwide, daily life came to a sudden stop. Traffic froze. Drivers ditched their cars on overpasses, pointing phones toward the sky. Families climbed onto rooftops. Children clung to their parents, trying to understand the strange shapes above. In areas without power, entire communities stood together in the dark, their only light now glowing above them. The familiar blue of daytime had given way to a strange twilight, as if the sun itself had been challenged. New York felt the change first. Within minutes, videos from the Brooklyn Bridge flooded the internet. The orbs hovered silently over Manhattan, like watchers from another world, freezing the city that never sleeps. In Tokyo, laughter faded to silence on crowded rooftops. Thousands of eyes focused on the shifting geometric patterns above. In London, workers spilled from glass office towers, briefcases forgotten, the rhythm of city life disrupted in seconds. In Lagos, even without working electricity, the sky's glow was impossible to miss. A brilliant, silent canopy seen from miles away. And in every other place, Los Angeles, Sydney, Delhi, São Paulo, the same scene played out. People everywhere simply looked up. It took less than 10 minutes for the online world to erupt. Live streams flooded every major platform. A teenager in Brazil yelled into his phone, "They sit are not meteors, they sit are stopping." His clip spread faster than any celebrity scandal or sports moment in history. In Moscow, dashcam footage showed highways in chaos as drivers veered off to the side of the road. In Nairobi, a young woman streamed from her balcony, whispering a prayer through trembling lips as thousands watched live. For the first time in human history, nearly the entire world was watching the same thing at the same time. But fascination soon turned to fear. When no official answers came from any government, people filled the silence with panic. Crowds rushed supermarkets. Shelves once lined with bread, rice, and bottled water emptied in hours. Toilet paper was the first to vanish, echoing the earliest days of a not-so-distant pandemic. But this wasn't set a repeat of a viral outbreak. This terror went deeper. It planted the idea that maybe humanity was no longer safe. Gas stations descended into mayhem. Fuel lines stretched for blocks. Honks echoed, tempers flared, and some drivers simply walked away when tanks ran dry. Hardware stores couldn't stock batteries or generators fast enough. Flashlights disappeared, sold out everywhere. Pharmacies were gutted for antibiotics, painkillers, even children's medicine. Even candles and matches had disappeared from shelves by midnight. Parents held their children close as they rushed through aisles, unsure whether anything they were doing would truly make a difference. One question echoed through every mind. If you had only 10 minutes to prepare, what would you reach for first? Highways were jammed with cars heading nowhere. Glowing streams of brake lights stretched endlessly toward the horizon. Families fled cities without a destination, clinging to the hope that distance might somehow equal safety. In Europe, train stations overflowed with families dragging backpacks and clutching sleeping bags. In Asia, commuters trapped inside stalled trains typed frantic messages as cellular networks began to fail under the stress. Airports across the globe ceased operation as the orbs stationed themselves near major hubs. Pilots refused to fly beneath skies they no longer believed belonged to them. By dawn, transportation collapsed entirely. Children didn't go to school. Workers never reached their offices. The routines that once structured civilization dissolved overnight. In many ways, it felt like the first days of a worldwide lockdown. But this time, no one believed things would return to normal. Because this time, the threat wasn't invisible. It was right there, hovering above them. Not everyone tried to run. Many turned instead to something deeper: faith. Across Latin America, church doors stayed open through the long night. In India, temple bells rang continuously as barefoot worshippers knelt together on stone floors. In Jerusalem, thousands pressed together at the ancient stones, praying for salvation. In Mecca, pilgrims raised their arms skyward. In Bangkok, monks lit paper lanterns and released them into the sky, tiny human hopes rising toward an alien glow. On islands scattered across the Pacific, elders told children that sky visitors had been foretold since old times. Some believed the end of days had arrived. Others believed this was only the beginning of something unknown. While some prayed and others panicked, scientists raced against time. At the SEI Institute in California, radio telescopes scanned the heavens. There was no signal, nothing. Across Europe, astronomers released early reports. The velocity patterns could not be explained by natural means. In China, orbital tracking centers followed sightings of objects blinking in and out of radar, appearing and vanishing, as if choosing when to be seen. One physicist admitted on live television, "We don't have a working model in physics to explain this." His quote, clipped and shared across every platform, deepened the collective dread. By sunrise, Global stock markets had halted entirely. The financial infrastructure simply couldn't endure the panic. Amateur astronomers from every continent uploaded data, confirming the formations were real, intelligent, controlled, and nothing like this had ever been recorded before. Their silence was deafening. Inside high-security government buildings, the atmosphere wasn't any calmer. In Washington, the National Security Council met in an emergency session. In Brussels, NATO generals joined encrypted video calls. In Beijing, an all-night lock-in began at the Central Military Commission. But every conversation circled back to the same terrifying questions. Are they weapons? Are they man-made? Do we prepare for war? The answers refused to fit. They weren't set missiles. They weren't set satellites. They weren't set accidents. Their positioning above population centers was no coincidence. It was intentional. No leader wanted to say the word alien. If they admitted it, panic might double. If they denied it and were proven wrong, consequences could follow in hours. The safest course was silence. But that very silence became its own answer. In households everywhere, families faced impossible decisions. In Sydney, fathers filled bathtubs with water, turning bathrooms into makeshift reserves. In Manila, neighbors shared rice sacks, sealing food storages deep in basements. In Nairobi, old radios were dusted off, expecting the power grid to go dark. A teenager in Mexico City streamed until his phone battery ran out. His final words, "They separ right above me." An elderly couple in Ohio sat quietly in a storm shelter, holding hands by candlelight. A commuter in London, trapped on a dead train, sent a final text. "If I don't make it back, know that I love you." These weren't TED heroes. They were ordinary people, trying to survive something beyond imagination. By the second sunrise, the world was unrecognizable. Commercial airlines had canceled all flights. Schools in dozens of nations had closed. Downtown office towers stood empty. Financial markets remained frozen. And the normal rhythm, children rushing for school buses, workers heading to trains, cities waking up, was gone. Humanity had hit pause, not by choice, but by force. It felt like the first days of a pandemic. But this time, it wasn't dread of virus spreading. It was fear. And with that fear came the shadow of extinction. Above every city, the orbs remained. Unmoving, silent, present. They gave no message. They made no threat. They didn't stunt launch an attack. But their presence was undeniable. And the silence hanging between them and us was more terrifying than any explosion. The first 24 hours ended without destruction. But they did not end without damage. Panic had already fractured societies. Families had locked themselves indoors. Governments argued in secret war rooms. Highways stood frozen beneath the watchers in the sky. And all across the world, a single thought repeated again and again. What happens next? The waiting, that unbearable, uncertain silence, had become the most dangerous moment of all.